welcome to the British Grand Prix review of Shifting Happens, episode 23. We're still not at the distance that Nico Hülkenberg took to get to a podium, but here we are, and we are the propaganda is going to be. I can't wait to talk about Hulk propaganda. But no, today I'm joined by our residents of the podcast. First of all, we've Apex Manny in the background producing this show. Not a really good race for Mercedes, but we move on. We do not talk about it unless we don't want this podcast going out live. I will keep the Mercedes criticism to my lowest. We have Marshall, our resident Marshall, who will probably any criticism. We don't really have much FI criticism. It's just more people criticizing the FI for not doing their job last weekend. Anyway, and then we have BaxtyB, our resident opera singer, and who is Are you in good moods, BaxtyB? Rory had a mixed weekend. The Mercedes were down and dump. Anything?
I'm just happy for Hulkenberg, mate.
Happy, yeah. You became a Sauber fan. Everyone's a Sauber fan. I think
everyone was a Sauber fan for that race when they realised it was on.
Yeah, everyone's like a Ferrari fan. And speaking of Ferrari fan, AJ, your team actually had a good Friday, and then the actual top driver actually had a good day, and the second driver had a terrible day.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to do. I'm not biting on that one. But what I will say is Mercedes did have a good weekend in terms of sportsmanship, though. So big props to Mercedes for sending champagne over to her.
Oh, yeah. And I think on the topic, we're going to start with Nico Hülkenberg. Like AJ mentioned, Hulkenberg has, after 239 starts, he was the record holder for the most starts out of podium finish. Now Adrian Sutil has that, is relegated back to that record. He's not making a return to F1, so that's staying for a long time. But no, Nico Hülkenberg got his first podium. I was watching this with a group of friends. I think it was the most universal liked podium. I think at the paddock and around in the fandom. I think it was like everyone just no one wanted to speak of Hulkenberg when he got into that position. It was like we didn't want to speak into existence because anything could go wrong. We've learned this mistake before, and the commentators were trying not to say it, but like everyone just got really hyper, and then actually happened, and then it got closer and closer, and we're just like, oh my god, actually is happening, and he crossed the line. And then everyone had that excitement, and then we were waiting for the post document spot, like FI document spot, to come out and say Hulkenberg is not disqualified from the race for plank wear or anything, but he keeps the podium. And yeah, Marshall, I'm going to come to you. What is your opinion? And do you enjoy that podium?
Oh, that was awesome. I think first of all, when you say nobody jinxed it, I was watching on F1 TV. And DC did jinx it with like 2 laps to go. And I was like, you shut up, man. Like, what are you even doing? Like, just, you idiot. Like, do not Murray Walker this one. Do
DC
not Murray Walker this one for the love of God. But no, I think it was fantastic. I think it was great to have one last podium and I mean, assuming another one doesn't happen this year, which I think is a pretty good assumption, to have one last podium under the Sauber name before they become Audi is nice. I'm glad that we're calling them Sauber again because they tried to do that stake kick thing and it was dumb. So I'm glad that we're actually calling them Sauber and giving Hinwell the credit because it's kind of a nice little send off. I mean, to break the curse on Hulkenberg, but also a send off for a team that's been around for a really long time and doesn't really get its credit. I mean, part of the reason that I'm kind of crappy towards Audi is because I don't like to see little teams kind of disappear and get eaten up like this. But it's good that they had one more result as Sauber to kind of see out the era. And hey, they got taken over by BMW once and came back, so maybe it's not the end of Sauber forever. Maybe they come back again. Who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Well, Marshall, we all know the Le Mans program is not coming back for a long time unless Audi do something with that Sauber team. So you never know. Sauber could come back.
Look,
Unless
Minardi could come back any day now. You just don't know for sure. Like Red Bull could get bored, and Giancarlo could be like, you know what? I'm coming back. I'm buying back in, baby. We're Minardi again. I can dream.
I want BaxtyB. It's Sauber start of the season weren't great. They had a horrid testing. We all thought this is going to be a mockery of the team again. We're saying the green tractor. They couldn't develop it. They couldn't bring an upgrade to save their life. But if you look in the last 4 races, they've scored 35 points. They're now 15 points behind Williams. Now Williams have had a kind of a drop in points. They had that double DNS and DNF in Austria, but Sauber are like ticking along, and you see with like their key hires. James Key has joined the team in the last year, and he is that technical team working. We also have Johnson Wheatley, one of the main people at Red Bull, and you could see what he's done with that team. Sauber have sub 2-second pit stops now. They have they look an operation. Yes, they're still making mistakes, but it looks like it's all ticking and getting ready for next year. So do you think this is if Audi look like they're not going to concede for wind tunnel concessions, but there is prize money available for them if they continue this pace now of where they're going?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, unbelievable scenes for Nico to get the podium. I mean, you were saying don't curse it. I was all over that on Twitter. I was just like, "We are Nico, we are Nico." So I was cursing it all over the shop, and then I resigned myself to the fact that Lewis was probably going to catch him, and then he didn't. So that was I was happy to see Lewis's podium streak end to get that Nico Hülkenberg podium. As much as I'm about to throw up in my mouth saying this, all hail Jonathan Wheatley. The redemption cycle for him has begun. He's done a brilliant job since going in. He seems like he's made some sort of just small tweaks, and it seems to be getting the team get better results. Gabby getting his first points in Austria, first Q3 in Austria as well, and he looked really good there. Yeah, they are steadily improving, and Nico's had some epic drives from the back of the field. So I think Audi right now are taking over a project that looks to be heading in the right direction. Obviously, there's a few caveats there with what's the engine going to be like and everything else, but driver lineup is good. They've got the right guy seemingly in the TP role. I would be excited as an Audi fan. I really would be, and I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. And we know their pedigree in motorsport, so yeah, let's see.
AJ, with Sauber's development this season, I think it's not being talked enough, because we saw what McLaren did with their car at the end in 2023. They had a terrible car, and they made that rise to the top. But I think the Sauber development is not being spoken. Like, that car was, let's just say, a tractor at the start of the year, and it's now consistently scoring points. And I think it is. It's you have to applaud their technical team, just the operational. But my question is to you. You mentioned at the start of the show that like Sauber didn't have any champagne at the start of the race. They only had 2 bottles, and all the Aston delivered some. You saw Jonathan Wheatley Bonotto go into the motorhome with caskets of champagne. Mercedes giving the message, good luck on your first podium. I think also saying to Nico, apologies for not signing you in 2013. And then, do you feel like the appreciation, just not in the fandom, like you saw with the crowd chanting Hulkenberg's name, but it was also kind of the whole paddock could recognize, like, especially Aston's side, that we have to remember, like, Hulkenberg he's been at Sauber, Williams, he was at Renault, he was at Aston for under that
back when
Mercedes.
It was Force India.
Yeah, Force India and into the Aston days. But it shows that the whole paddock was so jubilant, and they wanted to recognize Hulkenberg's service, so finally get a podium.
Yeah. I think so. There's many layers to this for me. I think I've been wanting to give major Hulk shout outs now for the last few sessions, but I haven't been able to make our podcasts. But first off, he has been doing immensely well this season. His points finishes recently have come from starting at the back of the grid and ending up in the top eight. Brilliant drives, brilliant tire management. Of course, the pit crew pulling their weight as well when necessary. So yeah, big props not just to Nico but also to Sauber for bringing the team, kicking themselves into gear, and the faith that they've had in Nico. That's one thing. Um, the other thing is also, I don't know, man. I'm losing my train of thought over here because I'm a little bit tired. But um, honestly, Nico, what I will say is like, you guys know my take on Fernando, um, and that I think he's washed. I think he's done. But when you have someone like Alonso and Max hyping Nico up as much as they do, and I think someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was a statement that I saw where I believe it was Alonso who said that Nico Hulkenberg is the most talented driver to not have been given a chance at a good team with good machinery for wins. And I think that's very, very true. He's the best to have never had the machinery out there. And I know we were talking in the conversation of like, who's the best driver to have never won a championship. Um, who is the best driver to have never been in a championship capable car? I think you're gonna see Nico Hülkenberg. Um, there's really no one else that comes to mind, at least with the amount of experience out there for me. Um, yeah, it was amazing, absolutely amazing to see. What did irk me though was someone of Lando's experience, through what they went through with McLaren. In my opinion, absolutely classless that they did not give Nico the attention he deserved on the podium. They did not celebrate Nico's podium the way a Lewis would have done, the way a Max would have done.
There's
AJ,
Lewis
I
on the
love you very
podium with
much.
it's
That's a
good.
nothing burger, man.
Yeah, no, that's
No, I
nothing.
know. I just think it's absolutely classless, man.
No,
That's
it's
what it is.
not.
There were other things happening with McLaren. There was tension there because Oscar was spewing. I know we'll talk about that, but
And like
Oscar's viewing is one thing, sure, but Lando, come on, man.
it's his home race. He doesn't
Ah,
care who's third.
mate,
Why
it's
should he?
a complete nothing burger. Like when I saw those complaints coming in yesterday, I was like,
It's
"Come
so
on,
nonsense.
really?
It's so
no.
nonsense.
We can't all be
And
Danny
like
Rick."
you say that you say that like Lewis wouldn't if Nico had just beaten him and it's 2016, I'm sure he wouldn't have cared who was third. He would have been grumpy and like there's a championship battle happening that supersedes everything and anything in these two guys' minds because they both see it. Every time they close their eyes, they're looking at a championship trophy and they know it's theirs, and the only thing in their way is each other. They do not care about Nico Hulkenberg, nor should they. Like that is not even on their radar. That's not
Okay,
their circus, not their monkeys. I couldn't disagree more. Like
this
absolutely no part of their brain is actually engaged in who's third, and what a nice story that is when they're currently in the midst of a 2-car championship fight. It's just it doesn't you can't push down those emotions in the moment of like the race just finished and Lando has won his home Grand Prix, but it's a controversial circumstance. Oscar's mad as hell, and it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, and
Yes, it was a lot, but you still had Lewis after AD 2021 still celebrating on the podium and being a sportsman about it.
but that's when it's all over, right? Like there's nothing to do at that point. Like
it's I don't know, man. If you've got someone who can have literally the championship ripped out from under your nose and still the class and the respect to be able to be out there to celebrate your fellow rival, and this is you're talking about an intense year-long championship battle
I don't
versus
know.
two guys who are just giving us a very mid performance of a championship battle right now.
I don't think they see it that way. I really don't think they see it that way. They see it as like perhaps their only chance ever to win a championship because we've got a rule
Wouldn't
set
call it mid
change.
either, to be honest with you, with some of the performances they've put in this year. I mean, Oscar in particular. Like,
I
he had
mean, yeah, you're not going to win them all. You're not going to win a championship without making some mistakes. And, it's not, I cannot even fathom being mad
I,
about how either of them reacted or any, like, I agree with Oscar's penalty, which I'm sure we're going to get into, but I don't have any problem with the way he behaved. I don't have any issue with the way Lando behaved. I don't have any issue with any of it. And like the thing that was awesome about it, and I mentioned this, I actually think I said it to you guys in the group chat, like it's going to be awesome when the least excited person at the end of this race is Nico Hülkenberg. It's like he was just very cool. Like he was just, yep, I do this all the time. Never got a podium, but hey,
I,
it's about time.
yeah.
Like he was very like he was happy, but he was not like jubilant about it. Like when we saw Antonelli get his pole, and like there's certain firsts that young drivers have that like, or when we saw Gasly get his first win and it was just unbridled emotion or whatever. It's like he was very collected in how he responded, how he behaved on the podium. He kind of acted like he'd been there before, which I love. I think that's great. I admire that kind of just act like you've been there. It's no big deal. I'm only 30 whatever years old and never been here, but hey, it's finally happened. Good. Now let's move on.
Hulkenberg has been here. It's just been a long time for him. He's been there at Le Mans. He's been there, but no. In response to that, I think what Lando I think they care. Like you saw what Lando did in the poster in the podium. He brought Hulkenberg's helmet with him. Like no driver would do that. Like he cared. He cared. Like he maybe didn't show on the podium, but he did care. Like Hulkenberg was lost in that podium. Oscar showed them that we got free water. We had everything. Like maybe I think they care, but I thought it was Nottenberger as well. Honestly, like I think there's more. There's more to talk about in that Grand Prix, but I think we need to move on.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the McLarens, Oscar Piastri.
Yes. Topic du jour. Yes.
You wanted Oscar Piastri was dominant in that race. At times he had 10 seconds. He even had 15-second gaps. It looks like the Oscar Piastri show. And then Oscar decided, let's break behind the safety car, and nearly caused a Mugello 2020 incident. Now, my opinion on it is that Oscar, you're very naughty for that. Like I said, Mugello 2020. It's okay. The dry, still a penalty. But in the wet, when there's a spray and there is visibility, that could have been a bit of a clusterfuck, honestly. Sorry for swearing. But we've seen the discussions online of George. Why did George not get a penalty? This is a bit different. Going from 218 kph to 52 kph and about 60 psi in brake pressure. Yes, that's a bit of compared to George's 30 psi in brake pressure. Now, yeah,
it was also the conditions of the safety car and the race, if I'm not mistaken, that came into play.
Oh yeah, that's what I mentioned. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
the regulation that was cited for Piastri's breach was a different article. It was Article 55.15, which is from the point at which the lights on the car are turned out, drivers must proceed at a pace which involves no erratic acceleration or braking, nor any maneuver which is likely to endanger other drivers or impede the restart. So, slam dunk. And it has nothing to do with George Russell. And I wish people would stop conflating these two incidents because it's a completely different regulation. It's bizarre that people are trying to conflate an incident that wasn't even investigated or noted by the stewards and was only brought up by Red Bull as some lame attempt at a gotcha to try and yank Toto's chain at the end of a race. Like, there was nothing to that. That race was not restarting. It was behind a safety car, and the race, for all intents and purposes, was over. Like, there was no restart happening. What the point of what Oscar did that was wrong, and he even says this in his post-race interview, or not even the post-race interview, in the cool-down room. He lets it slip. Like, he actually let it slip when he was talking to Hulkenberg in the cool-down room. He said, yeah, I slowed down right as the safety car lights went out. So he knows in that moment what he was done for. Like, he knows. He admitted it. He gave up the game right there. And then he goes and afterwards says, oh, Max didn't have to pass me, and he was just trying to make it look big for show, or whatever he was saying. Like,
No,
yeah, but you gave up the game, kid. You said what you did
Yeah.
wrong. You acknowledged that you knew the lights were off, and that was the issue that got you. So let's not say that it's like George's issue, which was just Red Bull being, I think I called them pissy biscuits, but you know, it's different from Red Bull being, you know, trying to change the result post hoc of an incident that wasn't even investigated because they're pissy biscuits about something, and like an actual incident within the race that gets noted and sent to the stewards and investigated. Like, completely different circumstances, a different rule cited under different circumstances. Stop making comparisons. And it's my pet peeve when people take this and say, oh, the stewards are being inconsistent. No, you're being inconsistent by applying different logic to two completely different situations and two completely different regulations. It's your
Also-
inconsistency, not the stewards. I hate that.
Also, just to add on a little bit to that, if you go back and you watch the replay, and if you're looking at the rear cam footage, from, I think, whether it's Max or Oscar, the moment he applies the pressure on the brake, you can see how all the other cars instantly are super close to one another and have to take avoiding action with one another. That is by definition, again, going back to the wordings in the rules, cause a potentially, impeding the restart of the race. Because
Yeah.
had anything happened, had anyone made any contact there, it's just so happened that everyone got away clean. It's one of those situations where everyone reacted good enough and well enough that everyone got away clean. Had that not been the case, everyone would have lost their minds.
If it had been like a Mugello 2020 situation, like where Bottas, put the hammers on before the restart and everybody piled in.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you want to know something funny? And this is something I missed, and I just wanted to share it because I think it's so funny that it's something that I think you'll enjoy, and you may already know this. But when Red Bull protested George Russell, they protested for two things. They protested for his actions under the safety car, but they actually protested that he engaged in unsportsmanlike conduct by reporting on the radio that Max had passed him under safety car. That was literally part of their appeal, was to say that George was unsporting by telling on Max on the radio. So are we really going to take this protest seriously? Like, come on, people. Like,
yeah.
the
Screw that,
wording
man.
of the
Red
wording of the
Bull-
protest was just meant to yank Toto's chain. That was really all it was meant to do.
I think I just demonstrated what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
Baxi, I have a question. Is this are we starting to see chinks in Oscar's armor regarding his title fight? He's starting to make little mistakes now, and like it's only what's the gap at the moment? 6 points, is it?
8 points. Yeah,
eight points. Like it is close. Like it's still close, and like it could have been Oscar could have pulled the gap this weekend, but of course he made that misjudgment, you would say. But yeah, I think it's look for me. I think Oscar's is starting to make little mistakes that are now costing him.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there were two things. There were two things there that, and yeah, he was unlucky in the first safety car because I mean, one thing we probably won't get to is how useless are the Pirelli wet tires when you have to put a safety car out instead of using them.
I would argue, sorry, Baxty, they're actually not useless. They're just too good at their job. They just displace too much water. That's the thing. Like it's just
what's the point of having them if you're not going to use them? But also, I feel like yes, that was a mistake by Oscar, and for me, I completely agree with the penalty. I think it was a slam dunker. When you actually dig into the detail of it, and you could see the concertina effect behind him as well. When the George and Max incident, Max didn't have to take avoiding action because he was just like, oh crap, I've just gone ahead of George a little bit when they were warming their tyres, whereas Max and Lando were having to take avoiding action. And Hulkenberg did say to Oscar in the cool down room, even he said we did have to sort of be very cautious at that moment. But the one thing that really annoyed me for Oscar wasn't the penalty offence itself, but was then after he'd served the penalty, he then said, oh, if you felt the penalty was unfair, maybe we should swap positions. I'm like, bro, that is no bueno. Like, shout outs to Mahad of McLaren Fan TV. He was at the track and he didn't know about it. And then he saw it and just went, what the actual F is going on? Like, that is ridiculous. And if I'm Lando Norris, if they'd actually tried to incorporate that, Lando would say, well, actually, I gave Oscar the win back in Hungary last year. He ain't having this one. No chance. So, yeah, I'm glad McLaren said no to that. And, yeah, it's just a few little chinks in the Oscar Piastri armour. He's got a 3-week break now to reset. He's coming up to a track that he's traditionally been very strong at in Spa. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all works out for him. And I think, look, some people aren't enthused by Piastri versus Norris for the title. I'm here for it. I love competition. So let's get into it. And two guys inexperienced, very different dynamics of what we've been used to recently. Let's have it. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
So I've got a question.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I've got a question with regards to that. Just to jump on that, because I know I've been saying it's been a bit lackluster because there's been no spice or heat in this title fight. And I get where you're coming from, BaxtyB, where it's like, it's interesting to watch this happen. Yeah, sure it is. But do we think at any point, once we fully enter the second half of the season, are we expecting gloves to come off and sparks to fly?
Possibly. I think so. I mean, it's only, I think we're at the stage now where we are one spark away, like Lewis and Max was up until Silverstone in 21. It'd been that sort of, obviously a lot higher quality, I would say, but it was, gentle. There was gentle respect there. Yeah. And then Silverstone happens and that was it. It was game over at that point. And I think we're getting to the point where that could happen at any moment with these guys. And the difficulty is that it's an internal team battle. So that's going to be very difficult for Andrea Stella to manage and Zach Brown to manage. They've done a decent job of it so far, but at some point they're going to have to lay down the law with these two. And I think they are going to hit each other. We know that Oscar won't give ground. We saw that in Saudi. So, yeah, I think the second half of the season could get spicy. I'm not saying it's going to be Prost Senna or anything like that, but it's going to be a fascinating battle to watch.
I think before we move on to the talking about Lando's performance and how winning his home Grand Prix, I think we're just going to comments. So Emmanuel has said, I agree with the Oscar penalty, but I do believe race control called in the safety car too late. Now, I think the conditions were is more visibility. I think they were concerned about. Like you saw in certain parts, it was monsoon conditions at times, and then the visibility as well with these ground effect cars isn't the greatest. Like I had no real like. I think like even the safety car out was fine. I didn't really see anything like it didn't really like it neutralized the race, of course, but it didn't really take away anything from the fight in the race or
I think
slow
what
it
he
down.
means though is that they turned the lights out too late. on
Yeah,
the
that's
lap.
what he's getting at.
Okay, but I think that's
Like-
usual. It's not usual. Like that's usually
No,
when
they do usually turn them out a little bit
It's-
earlier, but
It's important to note, though, that the FIA were monitoring Oscar like an absolute hawk. There was a brilliant report from the race today, which said that they had noted him about 4 laps before the incident because they were concerned by how hard he was braking. So they were watching him so closely. And, that's why I think he was penalised as quickly as he was, just because they were on him. So this is something that had been going on. And beyond the lights issue. So unfortunately for Oscar, that he was already under the pump for that one. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
but as for the late lights going out, I think that's exactly what Piastri said in the cool down room, like that the lights went out too late and that he'd already done his maneuver. So I went back and watched the onboards, and I think that he would have had a point if he hadn't have accelerated again. So it's like I think that more than the braking, it's the fact that like Max
He
thought he
went
was
off
going. Like Max thought he was going, and then he braked again. So if he had just kept it really slow and not like fake gunned it and then slammed on the brakes again, he would have been fine. So I do hear you that that he didn't he was still messing around, but I wonder too if
Is that just
like
inexperience though?
it could be, I mean, inexperience leading a pack up to a
Yeah.
restart.
Yeah.
In a wet race, we have to be
Yeah.
conscious of that because he's done
Yeah.
enough leading of laps this year. But in a wet race, there's only been one other wet race this year, which was Australia, and he never led that. So,
But I think that he would have had a point if he hadn't have accelerated again. It was almost like the acceleration that sucked Max in, and then when he slammed on the brakes again, like you can't do that a second time. Like if it had been just the concurrent one, because when the lights go out on the safety car, if you watch from Max's onboard, when the lights go off on the safety car, Oscar's braking, and then he accelerates, and then Max accelerates with him, and then he brakes really hard. So it's like if it was just that first braking maneuver that was right as the lights were going off, that would have been fine. It was like maybe 2 seconds later, but at the same time, like you're leading the race, there's no way that you didn't see the lights go off. And then the other part of it is that race control usually sends a communication through the race channel to the teams telling them that the safety car is coming in or not. And usually there's been like more information disseminated on the race channels, and they know more than we do on the broadcast. So there was probably a pretty good chance that McLaren knew that it was very likely that it was going green this time, and it might have just been like, stand by, or we're looking to restart, or like they have their text channel with the teams where they tell them stuff that's not on the broadcast. So they know more than we do. So I'm sure if like, and I'm not just saying trust the FIA, or the stewards are always right, no, but I mean, if they're making this determination, they must have known that there was a reasonable expectation that the lights would go out on the safety car at that point in time. But yeah.
But no, with that as well, Marshall. Like we have seen with the safety car restarts that they do, like a lot of drivers saw during the former races that they do go early. Like, and as Max was probably expecting Oscar to go around that area of the track anyway, so that's another factor as well. But yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, I think we're talking about Lando, and I think like considering, yes, I know Oscar was the dominant force like until he made that error, or like his mistake of doing what he got the penalty, of course. I think this win is going to rejuvenate Lando in a sense that he's actually like he got his home victory. It's any driver's dream to win their home race, and I think Spa is going to be interesting. I think Lando's going to come with a bounce in his step. Like he's going to be up for it. Oscar is going to want to have a point to prove. The title fight's still on. It's just up to McLaren to decide who's going to be the lead driver, who's going to we're halfway through the season. We still like this. I'm personally of this championship will go down to either who's going to have a mechanical DNF or if there's going to be like someone's going to be pushed off the track or have an incident. Like I think that's how tight it's going to be this year. What Marshall, AJ, BaxtyB, what's your opinion on it?
I'll dive in. I think McLaren's life has been made easier for them now that Max is so far back, because Max is 69 points back. And
nice.
We're all thinking it. I think it makes life a bit easier for them that they can manage it. In regards to Lando, first time he's gone to technically gone back to back. I know he went back to back Abu Dhabi last year and Australia this year, but within a season he's never gone back to back before. So that will give him a bit of confidence. I think Silverstone was definitely more of an Oscar track than a Lando track. Yes, he won it by default, but sometimes in races like that, it's to finish first you must finish and make no mistakes, and that's exactly what he did. The car does seem to be coming to him. I think the momentum is there at the moment, but I think crucial few races coming up. If he can keep it close and maybe even nick ahead coming out of Spa and Hungary, then things might be looking good for him. But if Oscar wins the next two, then you'd have to say advantage Oscar. But definitely what Lando needed after Canada was to get some strong results, and he's been perfect. He's not put a foot wrong in those two races.
Yeah. AJ, your thoughts? Or
I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, like BaxtyB's right on that. And it's one of the things where he did not do anything impressive. There was nothing to shout about. He went about his business and he did it right and well. And sometimes that's what you need to win a championship. It may not be, hyper entertaining or whatnot, but who the hell cares about entertaining if they end up winning a championship, right? Like they're not going to care about how entertaining it was, because their name's going to be etched in the Drivers' Championship at the end of the day. But with McLaren, I still think that they are lucky and that they've done really well to build the car that they have, because there are still issues every now and then that we see, and the fact that Max is not up to par is why these issues aren't biting them in the butt. But yeah, so we'll see. I have a feeling that the pendulum is, damn it, man, I hate that I'm doing this, but the pendulum may be swinging back into Lando's side.
Has Marshall? Oh, he's back.
That comment was so shocking; it disconnected Marshall from the stream.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like it was like
admit it when it's there.
You're flipping to Team Lando, are you?
Yeah. I'm not flipping to Team Lando. No. You're never gonna catch me saying that. But
what are you gonna do if he wins the championship, Rory?
We'll just put this clip up. We'll get this clip back and pull this clip up.
Hey, if he wins the championship, he wins the championship. It's fine. It's fine. I still think the pendulum is in his favor. I'm just not entertained by this championship battle, and it is what it is.
Honestly,
I wish that there were more sparks. That's what I want to see.
Honestly, you know what, AJ? I hear you, sometimes a title fight just doesn't grab you.
Yeah.
And like everybody that likes to go back to Bro-Sadies, like I hated that year. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely hated it. It was boring as crap because
Which
I
one?
didn't.
There were three of them.
Well, yeah, the one where Nico actually won. You know,
Yeah, I don't like to
it
talk about that yet.
it was it was a boring year. Like it just, yeah, it was interesting if you cared which way it went. But if you're not emotionally invested in one driver or the other, or you're just kind of indifferent to Mercedes running a minute down the road and lapping everyone to fourth place, like it was a dreadful season. And I just, you're reminiscing. You're just,
The good old days, eh?
the good old days, except for Nico winning, which, but it's one of those things where sometimes like, and sometimes I look back and people talk about 2016 like it's the good old days, and I'm like, were you even there? Like,
What
but
good
it
old
just,
days? You mean the 8 years of Mercedes dominance where no one else saw a podium and the top two?
No,
No,
he's
thank
clearly
you.
talking
Keep
about
those
the
years
Fangio
away
years.
from
The
me.
Fangio years were the golden
yeah.
days.
But I mean, everybody, I go back to this a lot of times. Like, there's a hockey blogger, writer, personality guy that I follow, and he says that your favorite logo of your favorite hockey team, like your favorite uniform or logo or whatever of your favorite hockey team or any hockey team, is the logo that they wore when you were 15. And I really think that we get frozen in time to the era that we were brought up watching. So if you were brought up watching in 2016, you would think it was awesome. But if you were 30 something like I was in 2016, and you just come off 2012 a few years before, and now it's this garbage, and this cars sound like poo, and the V8s are gone, the V10s are gone,
The
it's,
car still sound like poo.
yeah, I know, but it just, your reminiscence is in the,
That's what the car sounded like.
that sounds like like an F2 car.
Oh,
I always laugh, like if you guys ever watch The Simpsons, the episode where the leader, the cult leader, and he's got the spaceship that's flying away, and they do the kazoo sound. That's what a GP2 or an F2 start sounds like, is when he's doing the kazoo with the spaceship that's going
and
away.
then
They sound so.
a few like EDM like bass sounds just going as well because of the like the and the after like the
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
F2 cars sound better than Formula One cars in some ways. But
yeah,
no,
I think
I'm just saying, I totally get you. Like sometimes a championship fight can seem epic if you have a dog in the fight, but if you don't, then it can just seem dreadful. Especially if your driver's stuck in the third or fourth best car, then it's really no fun, right, AJ?
hey man,
and
I
the
fully
segue.
I'll say this. I enjoyed last year's championship. My drivers weren't battling for it. It was still a great championship all round. It was a great year for racing all round. This year's just compared to last year, this year has fallen a bit flat for me. And like it is what it is, right? You can't run
But
away from it.
before we move into
The Ferrari suck.
the Ferrari talk, the thing with this year is that
Sounds like there has no win.
Yeah.
it's I'm personally of the opinion that like it feels close. It's like 2021 all over again. It's like it feels close. There's a close title fight, but the cars cannot race. There's so much dirty air. These cars can't race. It's like the levels of down. Like they put
Yeah.
the teams have got the downforce. They put them on the car, and now the cars can't race for a second. But let's talk about BaxtyB.
Well,
Get the clip ready. Get the clip.
for first, you never let me talk about Lando.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Marshall. Go ahead.
You
Sorry.
never let me talk about Lando. I've been saying since before Monaco that Lando is going to win this championship, and it's not going to be close by the end. I mean, close as in like by the time we get to Abu Dhabi, it will already be in the bag. I've put that out there, and I stick to it. And it's not because I think that Lando's that much better than Oscar. I just think that it's his moment, and he will come back, and I'm seeing that change happen. I actually would prefer the story of Oscar winning it. I think it would be cool, but I think that this is Lando's year. And also, I just want to. I don't necessarily agree that Lando didn't deserve this race as much as I would like to say that it was all default, because I think that Piastri had every opportunity to put the hammer down and build a 10-second lead, and he didn't have anywhere near the pace to do that. And wherever that pace was coming from in the first stint, he didn't have that in the second half. And he was trying, like he had that opportunity after the stop to, like, when the track was drying, to put the hammer down and build a 10-second gap if he really had that pace, and
Right.
he didn't have it at all. So
It's important to
you know,
note, Marshall, sorry to cut you off. It's important to note that one of the reasons he got that gap was because McLaren dropped an all-time stinker of a pit stop on Lando in the first one.
ugh, exactly.
So
Max
that
got
was part of the
ahead.
reason that gap built. He just passed Max and then lost it immediately. Like,
That's true. That's true.
It's
I-
not just
I-
that.
I
It's
think-
also the fact that he can't put the hammer down because he's not Lewis Hamilton. So
Piastri, you
also
mean?
true.
yeah,
This
Yeah,
is also
yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have that extra gear yet in his arsenal, where if he needs to just go, like, remember Lewis Hamilton driving angry? Like, when something
Beautiful.
happened, when he was just driving angry and he'd just start putting in purple sectors and he was gone. Like,
Yeah.
if something happened,
It's not even
and like,
Lewis, it's Max as well. Like Max
Yep.
and Lewis,
Yeah.
when they drive angry and they want to
Yeah.
prove a point. Like I remember, was it when Max is angry? I remember it's always when he turned up to Japan in like 23 and 22. He'd be like, you just put, even at the start of this race, you saw him on the race start. He was already a second ahead of Piastri. Like he just went. I know he had to set up for it,
was it Brazil 24? Obviously, he was so angry after the qualifying. He was just like, I'm going to win this race now.
but yeah.
Where'd
no,
the
like you
Batman
said,
voice
yeah.
come from?
But I think I want to go to Cameron, our good friend Cameron's comments there with Charles Leclerc. AJ, you do know if Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris win the championship, they will win the championship before Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
this is
I
true.
just want. He's gone. No, I don't want to say no. I just want to say
Instant
it
rage
was
quit.
Charles is allowed to have an off race, and that was an off race this weekend. And I think
Okay, that wasn't an off race. That was a generational stinker from Charles. It was
okay. He's allowed to have a
awful.
generational stinker in every 5 races, but no.
He has the same amount of wins as Lando Norris. Come on, like
No, but he has more poles than Lando Norris. But that's what
Oh,
matters.
that's
That's
not
what
hard.
matters.
I will stand
No,
up
no,
to
no.
the slander, AJ. I'll back you up.
AJ,
Look,
I will say
don't-
this, AJ.
I
You did
will
have a
let-
good
I will let
Friday.
whoever say what they
You
want
had a
to say
good
before
Friday
I say.
this weekend. That's what matters. You had a good a good Friday. That's what all the points are scored. Sorry, AJ,
Look,
go ahead. Defend your case.
Honestly, I don't think it needs that much defense because look, you can make the comparisons all you want. Charles was never given a machine consistently throughout a season, let alone 2 seasons where the 2.5 seasons where the car is a rocket ship. 2.5 seasons, the car is a rocket ship. Charles has never had that.
Well,
He has never been given that opportunity apart from a 3-month period a couple of years ago.
Well,
2019, man.
2019 up to 3/4 of the season, that car was the fastest, was the second fastest car on the grid, or
Yeah, but
fastest at
people,
points.
the reason I don't talk about pre-2019 Charles is because everyone likes to bring up those years as his error-prone years. So I don't talk about that. I talk about when he started cleaning up his act. And when he started cleaning up his act, ignoring this stinker, right? Ignoring this stinker. I put this stinker aside. I fully agree. This was an absolute wild race. But if you're talking about someone who does not have a championship worthy car to consistently bring the car into the top 5, bring the car consistently into a podium, to consistently find performance where there's no performance. Charles has done that. Lando did not do that in a McLaren. I'm sorry. Oscar did not do that in a McLaren. I'm sorry. They did it once the car had a performance in them.
Lando was doing it in his early years. Like, obviously, Oscar's only in his third season, so that's an unfair comparison. But
Yeah,
Lando
no,
was
but
dragging some decent results out of his McLaren in the early years.
2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, the car was shit, but he still got a podium in that McLaren in
He
2022.
was the only non-Red Bull Mercedes Ferrari to get a podium that year. Yeah.
yeah. But okay, again, even then, right? Like, if you're talking about it and if you're actually looking at it, I still would take Charles over Oscar and Lando in that McLaren. I would put Charles and Max in that McLaren, and I think they will give us sparks for a championship. Put Charles
Max
and
is down
Lewis
the road.
in that McLaren.
Max, George, Lewis down the road in that McLaren. I
Yeah.
think Charles would decimate Lando. I think Charles versus Oscar would be closer than you think it is.
Nah, not again. Much similar to what Marshall says. Not yet for Oscar. Eventually, yes, but not yet. If that makes sense. Right now, if you're talking best drivers on the grid, it's still Max, Lewis, Charles, George for me.
I have the same top four, just in a different order.
Yes,
That was not in order. That was just my top four blanket, like no order. That's my top four on the grid. Everyone else is a class or two below these guys.
No,
That's the way I see it. So, whether or not, like, these two win a championship ahead of Charles, I'm not bothered by it.
No, I mean, Charles needs to be given the opportunity. Sorry.
I'm not acknowledging that comment.
No, look, I mean, Charles had a bad
I'm
race.
not gonna waste my time on
and
people who just troll for the sake of trolling. So
Yeah,
Cameron can go cry in his corner that my camera is not on.
If you're not going off the track, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
No, it's with Charles, we're clowning you, AJ, because it's a bit of banter. It's fine. I think he had a bad race. He's been pretty good this year, actually. Who scored the podiums? It's been Charles. Lewis, other than this race, hasn't really got close.
No, but
the gap
Lewis
is closing
has
between the two of
also
them.
been
I thought,
doing well, dude.
Yeah, I thought Lewis had a good race. Even though I think he threw the podium away personally.
By Sauber on pace alone.
That's the thing. He wasn't. That's the thing. So he closed up.
My thing is, it closed up, but it was like he could have closed. He could have got the gap up, but he just couldn't get back. There was a six. He went. Okay, he pitted for dries and then he went off.
His tyres died. That's the thing.
Yeah.
His tyres died just before that pit stop. That's partly why they pitted him when they did. And then he went off twice in that last stint. And that was because he was 7 seconds behind, then got it to 5 within a lap, and then went off again. And that was basically it. It's just done. So I think, Lewis had an opportunity to get that podium, and he did kind of throw it away. But I'm not taking away the fact that he actually drove a really good race.
Oh yeah, he did. His
double overtake on George,
double overtake was phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
Hot take. That was a better overtake than Trugo's Hamilton.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah. Trugo's Hamilton was a poacher's overtake when the other two were fighting each other. This was a proper overtake. So I think it was people are saying it was a disaster of a weekend for Ferrari. It wasn't. Lewis actually scored some decent points. It's why I don't think we should play the pain video that we normally do. Okay. But
it's not just that. I will also say this because I've missed a bunch of sessions lately because of stuff in general. But as much banter as Ferrari gets, they're still second in the championship. They're still where they finished last year. They're not doing as badly as everyone wants to make it out to be. And I said this from the start of the season. It's not all doom and gloom. They're still there. They're still getting points. They're still getting results. And at the
have you seen the Italian press?
Oh yeah, I did. I saw.
They need to listen to Lewis. It's yes, they do. You need to listen to Lewis more, guys. And they've got this engine problem as well, which is weird. But
The thing is that I think that they were battling McLaren for the constructors last year, and so it's the comparison. It's like
That's been my
in
point.
in isolation, it's fine, but in the expectation of what, like, I had Charles as my pick before the season started, and
Yeah,
boy, was that wrong.
It's the
But
hope that kills you every time.
it's like, to be where they are
I'm a sucker
is
for pain.
it just, to be where they are after the hope of the off season is really disappointing, more than the raw results. But I will say that it was very, very nice of Lewis to let Nico have his first podium. That was really nice of
Let him have
Lewis.
it, yeah.
Yeah, really nice of him.
Yeah. What's our next topic of discussion? Actually, I want before we go on, I want to give a props to Pierre Gasly this weekend.
Yes.
He dragged that both of it Alpine to P6, but also it's the most it's having to be P6, but you gain nothing out of it. Sauber still scored a boatload of points. Williams scored points. Everyone else scored points, but Alpine, I'll just say Alpine will be, if they finish last this season, or any team, it'll be the most points a team has scored in last place of a championship in recent years.
Yeah.
It's like Alpine's on 12 points, and they have admitted that they have switched all focus to 2026.
Yeah.
So, Alpine, it's not going well for you, Flavio. Your driver has decided to, I hope you have all that money secure.
So
all that Argentinian money secure.
Do we know what happened to Colapinto that he didn't start?
He went when he in the pit lane start. Of course, he was taking a new engine, but when he went to go out of the garage and to go into the pit lane, he got stuck in gear.
Yes, his car got stuck in second gear and he couldn't even reverse. So that's it.
So
Game over.
They pushed him back into the garage. The mechanics,
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Pierre for me, right? Like I'm really sorry. I'll make this quick, but Pierre, we've seen these performances for multiple years now. This is not new. Pierre does not get enough shout-outs that he deserves for bringing that Alpine to places that Alpine should not be. And this is not the first year he's doing it. Like, that is a really good driver in there. And he pulls off crazy performances. And I really think we need to give more shout-outs like this to people like Pierre and Nico.
Yeah, like the way he held off Russell for ages was really impressive. Really, really impressive. I will say two things quickly back on Sauber. They've actually scored more points than Red Bull in the last 3 races, and Nico Hülkenberg has outscored Max. There's a stat for you. And also with Alpine, for me, Colapinto's done. Get Bottas in the car now. Just do it.
Yeah.
Does Bottas want to drive that truck?
I don't think he cares.
I think he would just take being in a car at the moment, just driving, not just
get the
sitting around,
and then take the Cadillac drive.
Yeah, but
I really think he's a favorite for that Cadillac set at this point.
It'll be him and Checo. 100% it'll be him and Checo.
Yeah.
And if you want to see our earlier season predictions, you can check that video out.
But no, Alpine, Colapinto, I feel like he's there until it gets to a point where the Renault board or like they'll tell Flavio, you have to make a change because I think Flavio is trying to die on this hill at the moment that he does not want to look in the wrong. He's gone the Red Bull route saying, like, I'm going to make a driver swap, but I don't think I can if this goes wrong, I can't take the flack because I'm Flavio Briatore. That's what he's probably thinking. But
the man who shouldn't be in the sport.
to get kicked out. Yeah, he should just be kicked out of the sport again, man. Like he has no business being here. Just get out, get the hell out.
I think he's here for our entertainment.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to move on. Speaking of Red Bull kind of driver risks, Max Verstappen. He got pole with a low downforce setup because Red Bull they just couldn't get the balance right, so they decided to put low downforce. But did anyone in Red Bull look at the weather forecast by chance on Sunday with their downforce level? They went back. They went in the Christian Horner after the race. They went to Monza level downforce in the wet weather. And we lost Max. Now, No. Max was a bullet in a straight line, but whenever he went into Maggots and Beckett, the exit of Maggots and Beckett's, he just couldn't keep on the track. He went off a few. He did Tokyo Drift a few times, to be honest. And Oscar went past when DRS happened. Not even DRS, just got past. And then of course after the Oscar rapid deceleration, Max of course nearly had a 360 spin, kept out of the barrier, and moved on. And Max Verstappen did Max Verstappen things and managed to get a P5 out of it at the end of the race, which is like, go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that like the Max trolls need to really work harder, because I saw people like posting videos of him spinning and saying, "This is your rain master" and stuff. It's like, the fact that he finished that race in 5th on that setup is a damn miracle.
Yeah.
Like that was some like, if you're gonna come after, if you're gonna come after Max, like for that, driving a Monza spec rear wing in a soaking wet Silverstone on a restart on a greasy track, like, come on, like, at least try harder.
Yeah, he still dropped his ass though, didn't he? So I mean,
Max is leaving Red Bull. Like that's it. He's leaving Red Bull.
You're 100% certain.
There's look at the talent that Red Bull are bleeding right now. Look at the amount of talent that Red Bull are bleeding, like in terms of like all their big guys have all left. And at the same time, the car is so extremely undrivable that it's just Max who's able to bring that car forward right now.
The thing is, if Red Bull lose Max, they are a midfield team. Like, Max is able to drive that car. Like, he's the only one able to drive that car, but he's literally making Red Bull look like a competent F1 team on track because he's able to drive anything at the moment.
No, disagree. Partly because I did a video on this. I will say that Red Bull on Max's car have been superb this year in the way that they have got that car that's looked like an undrivable boat on a Friday, and consistently getting it into the window to him and the engineers working together to get that car set up that he can then go deliver a decent result on a Saturday.
I'm not denying
deserve
that.
Huge amounts of credit.
Yeah.
Where they deserve criticism is on the second car, because they've only made one car that is drivable. They've gone down a development path that favors Max so unbelievably hard. It does not matter who you put in this. You could put Lewis Hamilton in the second car and he would be half a second off, because that car would be undrivable for him. Like, you could put Fernando Alonso in there, you could put Nico Hülkenberg in there. It does not matter who you put in that car, because Yuki Tsunoda is not a mug. We've seen that last year, we've seen it this year.
No, I'm not, like, I agree. Like, Yuki's not mug, but the thing is, he's not helping himself in doing like his racecraft has not been the greatest in the last few races, causing like what he's gained about 5 penalty points in the last 2 races. Like, he's not like I agree. He's not like, he's a talented driver. If he was back in that RB, he'd be up there like in the points. I agree. It's that second car. It's just the curse of the Red Bull seat.
It feels like it ruins the confidence of whoever sits in there. It absolutely breaks them apart.
I mean, look what happened to Checo last year.
Yeah, Checo played bumper cars once he was in the midfield too. It seems to just it seems to just give drivers desperation. Like,
even Lawson. Like, I know he didn't do bumper cars, but he was. It took him a few races in RB to get back to a semi-decent pace level compared to his teammate in Isaac. Like, he's still not beat. Like, he had a great weekend in Austria, but yeah, I agree. Like, it's Red Bull need to, in the next regulation set, need to understand you have to be able to develop
produce 2 cars. It will be easier if Max leaves. If Max stays, they'll do the exact same because they don't know any better. But I think I think we are the closest we've ever been to Max leaving Red Bull this year. My initial thought was that if Max is going to leave, he will go at the end of next year and go to Mercedes in 27. But I think that with the way George is moving at the moment, I think it's now or never, really. Personally, I still think Aston is the best shot for him. I think he should go to Aston because I think
yeah, go ahead, back. Sorry.
Yeah, there's more going for him there than there is at Mercedes. I think, and it's a better fit. Like, he would be the undisputed number one, but I don't think Aston would go down the same development path of we're just going to go unbelievably hard on one guy. Adrian Newey's learned that lesson. He knows that he needs to produce two cars.
My thing with Aston is they are not Mercedes. They are still in the development phase. Their aero department is nowhere near the levels of Mercedes' aero department. They have Newey, but they're still building in that department. Like, they have new facilities, but the facilities inside the processing skill, like the processes, are still not at the level they need to be. They're still at
and that's what Newey's trying to iron out now. But we've also got to remember the Honda link up as well. Like, Max has an excellent relationship with Honda, so that's why I think it's a better fit for him.
But does Max want to go into that development phase again? Like, does he want to? He wants instant success. Does he want to do what he did at Red Bull for about 5 to 6 years of just develop, like, of doing
it's
one?
It's a different situation because Honda will be coming in at the start of the reg set, whereas the last time he hooked up with them, they came in halfway through.
No, I'm more talking about the team, like the dynamic of the team. Like the engine could be fine, but you could have a great engine and not have the processes and development of the team and the correct structure and like foundations. If you get me, like, it's hard to tell.
If there's a time to go, it's 26 because he can imprint his DNA on that team and from the word go. Okay, they could pair him with Fernando. It's probably Lance he gets paired with, if I'm being honest, because you would absolutely rip up Fernando Alonso's contract to get Max Verstappen in your car. I mean, look, he would be very good at Mercedes, don't get me wrong, but I just think there is more going for him at Aston, and there's a longer-term project there and longer-term success possibly there at Aston than there is with Mercedes. At Mercedes, he will, if he's paired with George, it will be Titanic. If he's paired with Kimi, he might get him for a year, but then Kimi is going to develop. And Mercedes will not compromise just to keep Max happy. They will make sure there are two cars competitive. Like, Max will do very well in that environment.
Before Marshall and AJ come, I think if Max goes to Mercedes, he's not going to get the leash he'll have at Red Bull. Mercedes like to have their top driver at PR events, everything like that. He has a very long leash at Red Bull. Let's just say that. He gets away with a lot of things.
Mercedes gave Lewis a massive leash, but then again, Lewis had 6 championships, but they would afford that to Max, I think.
I know, but I know. And as well with Max, for me, I think Max leaves Red Bull not this year. He stays. He'll give Red Bull the year to see where they are, and then he'll leave. If he doesn't go to F1, he'll go elsewhere. I think he goes endurance racing, whatever. But I think he has that. Max has loyalty to Red Bull in the sense that he doesn't want to just leave and then and as well 2026 for me is like it's all hindsight. You don't know who's going to have the best car. Yes, we all know in the media that we think it's Mercedes. Honda are looking like they're out, are looking like they've nailed. They're talking that they've nailed it, especially Mercedes. It looks like Mercedes might have the best engine. In the press talking now, we don't know until it goes on track. But I think it's just, for me, it's too much of a risk to leave a team in 26 and you don't know what's going to happen. You need to see what 2026 goes. Marshall, AJ, or BaxtyB even.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick one. I mean, I agree. I think leaving at the end of this year would be a risk, but I just feel like everything is pushing towards him leaving at the end of this year.
There's turmoil in that team at the moment. So
I mean, Cameron's put a comment there. Red Bull must dissolve the company without Max with immediate effect. They survived Seb leaving; they'll be fine. I
think as well, actually, Horner's not going to step in the way of Max. He let Seb leave. It's not. Red Bull has never really got in the way of a driver leaving the team. They understand that if they're not happy, they're not happy, and they don't want it to fracture anymore.
They'll just start building a car around Arvin Lindblad.
Not yet.
I mean, once Max leaves.
Put Isaac in the car. I think next year, if Max leaves, keep Yuki for a year, and then put Isaac in the car. Because it's a new reg set, so they won't be building it around Max, will they? It'll be a much more stable team.
So I have a question. Just in terms of like what you're talking about. So Max goes to Mercedes. Kimmy's not leaving. George then has to go somewhere else. George goes to where? Aston Martin.
Yes.
So where does Yuki go?
I
Well,
think
he stays. If Max leaves, he stays. They need
No,
that consistency.
I think
Do
Yuki
they?
is eventually bound for Aston. I honestly
Yeah.
think Yuki is bound for Aston. It's just a matter of a year or two. Yuki is bound for Aston.
Or do they get rid of Stroll finally and bring in Yuki and whoever else?
I don't see Stroll lasting long. I think he'll leave. But
I'll just say Lance Stroll had a good weekend this week. Honestly, he was
still
he was
bottom
doing.
podium, didn't
I know
he?
he's still bottom. Well, yeah, but like I want to give credit
See,
to Stroll this
the
weekend.
thing is, Rory, like I think I'm jaded with Lance because each time he has a half decent performance, we're like, okay, you know what? He finally put a shift in. He's finally locking in. He's finally gonna do something, and then he goes back to the same lackluster, like zero effort performances, and just drops down the grid again. Like I'm
gonna say
tired of
something
giving him
like
the benefit of the doubt.
I'm tired of the Lance Stroll discussion too, because if you go through his let's go through his 5 best performances in Formula One. So he's got 3 podiums. The podium that he got at Baku, he got overtaken. No, he got overtaken by Bottas at the line when all he had to do was hold his line, and he crapped up the first corner and got beaten by like 0.008 of a second to the line, and it should have been second. So you had like a great result that was like, could have been better.
He was a rookie. You can excuse that.
Okay, next podium was the Italian Grand Prix that Pierre Gasly won, that he started on pole in the restart and should have won, and flew off the road at the second chicane for no reason. Like that should have been his win, but he just lost his head. His next best performance, I would argue, is not when he was his other podium, but it was when he was on the pole in Turkey. And in the race, he actually shredded his tires so badly that he finished 8th while his teammate was up on the podium. And like he completely fades at the end of races. That's like when there's a result. No, every single time. So that Baku race, he had like a 30-second lead over third, and Bottas came from like 8th and passed him at the very end of the line. And then that one in 2020, he was in the lead and he ended up third. Then the one in Turkey was just an exercise in him going backwards as he couldn't manage his tires. And then the one in his last podium was the race that Checo, he finished behind Ocon in a Renault, but like a race that Perez won, starting from getting knocked off the first corner and coming back from dead last, passing him and Ocon, and Stroll couldn't even pass Ocon. And
what
then
I will say in defense of Turkey. No, go on. Go on.
Okay, and then his next best was when he was 4th at the German Grand Prix, the chaotic wet-dry race in 2019, at when everybody was spinning off, and he was 3rd, and he let it slip away to Daniel Kvyat in a Toro Rosso. Like, come on, guy. Like, every time he has a good result on, it ends up worse than what it should have been because he cracks and fades at the end. He's really good at finding himself in a good position in a lucky sort of race, and then terrible at actually executing it once he's in that position. And we saw that again today. He was in 3rd, then 4th, then 5th, then 6th, and then on the last corner, 7th. Like he gets in these positions and then he just sinks like a stone and like is in salvage mode every time he's up there.
I'm going to defend Turkey very quickly, and I'm defending it because he did not. So Racing Point called him in, and he was telling them, "No, I'm fine. My tires are fine." It was changing those tires that was the mistake, and that wasn't on him. He wanted to stay out. I think if he stays out, he might well win that race or at least get a P2. I mean, because Lewis was on another planet that day.
Yeah, so, Lewis was not going to be denied in that race.
But I think Lance was driving a sensational race, and I think it was Racing Point who made the mistake there in Turkey, not Lance. Because once you
That's
get
fair.
on those newer tyres on that particular track surface, it was an exercise in futility.
Yeah, because the worn inters were what were the faster tire. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think briefly just mention Haas, Ollie Behrman. Learn what a red flag is, please.
Oh.
And
Yeah, for all his
and
brilliance,
also,
that was dumb.
and then he also did synchronized spinning with Ocon. So
Hey, that's the best performance. That performance would get a gold medal at the Olympics. Synchronized.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
yeah,
Synchronized swimming.
Remind me of the Latifi Mick Schumacher spin at Abu Dhabi in 2022. It was like when they did synchronized spinning. But no, yeah, I don't think we covered everything. Actually, we're not going to talk about Mercedes because,
No.
Actually, first,
I want to say one thing on Max, just quickly. He's 69 points behind. There have been 4 flashpoints this season: Saudi Arabia, Spain, Austria, and Silverstone, where I think he has ended up losing points. 3 of those have been through his own errors: Saudi, Spain, and Silverstone. Austria, completely not his fault. The quali, yellow flags, and then he got yeeted off by Kimi. Saudi, he should have given the place back to Oscar. He lost the race by less than 5 seconds. He had a 5-second penalty in that race. Completely his fault. Spain, we all know. I don't need to repeat Spain. Yes, Red Bull made some mistakes in that race, but that got countered by Max's dumbassery. And then finally in Silverstone, he dropped his ass on the restart. I know the car was a nightmare, but he still did that, and that's a mistake.
I don't think I can I hear you, but not for Silverstone.
Yeah, I don't think it was his choice to
Silverstone is not him.
To use a T tray for a rear wing.
Yeah, that's not on him. I'm sorry. I hear the other two, but Silverstone is not on him.
But he could be closer in this championship if it weren't for some of his mistakes.
He could
that's
be,
2 mistakes.
He could be like Austria was he still finished those races in points, but yeah, I do. Yeah. I can see your argument. Like Silverstone, Spain was definitely Saudi. I'm more with Saudi that Red Bull should have, with the precedent of what was going on with the new rules of it's up for the team to decide. They should be a bit more wary that this is probably going to be a penalty in a sense. They should but it's not up to Max. It should be in the team. Should be in more enforcement of saying we think there could be a penalty. But I do agree. Spain definitely Max. Silverstone.
Sorry, no, Rory, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, AJ.
I essentially just wanted to say is with all that said, even though I know the gap is 69 points, I'm not counting Max out. Because there's still slightly over half a season to go. I'm not counting Max out.
History's not on his side. It's really not on his side.
History is not on his side, but also look at what he's doing with that dumb truck.
For me, if
McLaren wasn't as dominant, I would agree with you.
And Max needs to win a few more races. He needs to win.
He's only won 2.
Yeah.
It's he needs we have to remember last year I know Red Bull they won 6 races and then they won 3 after that. He still had 9 race wins last year. Max Verstappen. He's only had 2 this year. He needs to win a few more.
That McLaren is too good. Our dear missing brother Shez kind of ties into the Ferrari discussion we were having. That yes, they've dropped the bag, but I think McLaren were always going to run away with it with this brake tire management trick that they've been and suspension that they've been doing. They found something and they're making it work. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
And Red Bull's chasing a kind of narrow setup window that they have zero margin for error. So even in Silverstone, they're just, even if it had been dry, it still would have left them compromised in the slower corners or in the medium speed corners. It was not a foregone conclusion that if it's dry, Max wins. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not. But it's also like, we're gonna look into this in hindsight as like, oh, if this had happened, this could have happened. This could have happened. This could have happened. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, I agree. The McLarens are just rocket ships right now.
And
And
they're not tire
all the
monsters
credit.
either.
Sorry.
They're not like they have tire wear. Like they have
Yeah.
like very good tire wear, like compared
Yeah.
to the Red Bull.
And all credit where it's due for Max for still only being 69 points behind the two. Like credit where credit's due. He deserves that credit. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's also why I think like he's on his way out. I don't think he stays at Red Bull beyond this year.
Mhm. I think that's really it. Do we want to touch on Spa or do with predictions wise, or do we want to kind of? Do you think it's gonna be a McLaren dominant weekend? Just like
I'll put my prediction straight out. I've predicted Norris to win the last two, but I'm going to go for Oscar Piastri this time. Hang on, Mike BaxtyB. Yeah, I'm going to go for Piastri. That's his track. I think he'll win that easily. I think.
yeah. The thing is with Spa is that it is a Max Verstappen track as well. It is. It's just hard to like. You can't count Max Verstappen out, but I also think McLaren. But which McLaren do I want to go for? I will go Lando Norris because he has a broken nose and he is going to be like I have a broken nose and I'm going to win.
He was born in Belgium as well, so it's a home
Okay.
race for him.
Yeah, I'm going for the three-peat. Lando.
I don't want to take you guys off screen.
What are you going with, Fly?
I mean, you got the Red Bull guy picking Lando. Congrats, Double Wave. You've not convinced the whole panel. I think Rory said it. It's hard to believe for Max to have 3 consecutive races of this type of, just no positive out of it. So, he gets 2 weeks. He gets to regroup, and I think he comes back and he wins Spa.
And
he has to be nowhere near Kimi Antonelli. That's the whole key, right? Can you get away from Kimi?
Now, AJ, I want to say this to you wholeheartedly. Do you want to go this whole season without 0 predictions?
Yep.
Or do you want to actually get a point on the board?
No, I'm fully going for kiosk picks because honestly, I think Oscar is winning it, but my pick is gonna be between
Fernando Alonso.
That's never gonna happen.
Nico Hülkenberg.
That's just never gonna happen. Not out of my mouth.
No, he's gonna pick Yuki Tsunoda, Double. Remember?
Baxty, that was so out of pocket, but I think honestly, I kind of want to go between Lewis and Max, and I think you know what? I think I'm gonna back Max here.
Baxty was like nearly got the prediction there from Lewis.
Why is there such a big gap between these races?
I really want to go to Lewis, dude. I really, really want it to be Lewis, but I'm like I said, I think Oscar's going to be the one to win it, but my prediction is going to be Lewis.
I mean, it's just such a big gap between the races. We don't know what upgrades people will have too. I don't know why it's such a big gap because the summer break's coming up too.
Yeah, it's after Hungary's the summer break, so I think it's 2 weeks succession of Spa and Hungary.
But it's like 3 weeks until Spa, right?
2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks.
25th.
In there. Yeah.
3 weeks.
Well, yeah. I think that's it. So in this episode of Shifting Happens, we discussed Hulkenberg, McLaren's, Nico. Did everyone see actually the video of Nico Hülkenberg? They had Nico Hülkenberg song Free from Desire, but they started singing Nico's on fire. That's why it.
Can I change my prediction to Nico winning?
No, we are going to accept this change because this is the chaos we need. And we're not now, AJ. If he gets a podium at Spa, we're not accepting that. It has to be a win. So we're not. There's caveats to this. You said win.
Going on the spreadsheet.
But no, I was.
may I have a team in turmoil in a Spa? Think Ocon and Behrman go at it again, and tempers get worse at Haas. That's just my opinion.
Who cries first, Ocon or Behrman?
Oh, Ocon for sure.
Ocon's got a history.
Ocon for sure.
Behrman's just a kid, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to call out a comment from Cameron here. Like, he says, "Where's the super chat option?" Cameron, we're not all blessed like you to have a very successful YouTube channel where you have that option. We're getting there, mate. But
Cameron,
We'll let you know when
we're in the Aston Martin aero development stage. We are just there. We have the stools and like that, but we don't have the wind.
Yeah, Cameron, we are Alpine at the moment, all right, buddy? We're trying to climb the ladder.
No. We like to thank everyone.
We're high tech. We're stuffing the money into briefcases.
No, I mean not. Yeah, okay.
Okay, before we go, we get a lawyer's cease and desist letter. I think I'm going to end the episode. Thanks everyone for listening. Shifting Happens, episode 23. I'd like to thank Manny, of course, for producing and kicking AJ out of the calls many times this episode.
John Cena says hi, Cameron.
BaxtyB for enduring and not bringing up Merck. Well, only in the good times. We didn't talk about the bad times. Marshall for, of course, standing up for the FIA of all points this episode.
If I don't do it, no one will. Literally
And
no one.
AJ for enduring our banter, Ferrari, and myself for just
Being
accepting Red Bull's
amazing.
face.
being a brilliant
That's all.
host and the meme lord himself.
Yeah, and that's all Shifting Happens had today. Bonjour, that's French when we're saying French. Goodbye.
Well, like,
Bye.
subscribe.
Bye. Bye.
See you guys.
Thanks for watching the 5 Reasons Gambling Show with Big Picks Energy.
Secure the value, secure the value, secure the value, secure the value.